So you want to main Bastet, goddess of cats. First, ask yourself, why do you want to main Bastet? She can get in, do Bastet things, and get right back out. She has super high mobility. Bastet can summon her minion cats to do the work for her. She can also use her kitties to trap the enemy. But before you choose to main her, it's good to know the cons of Bastet. She's super mana hungry. Her ultimate becomes pretty useless late game. But if you don't mind that and you just want to have fun, she's perfect. Bastet is a SMITE Egyptian assassin. SMITE has classified her as an easy god, and I actually find her pretty difficult. Her abilities are super easy to use, but it's just hard to be impactful with her in the current meta. If you're an experienced Bastet player or you just love playing her, feel free to leave any of your own tips down in the comments below. In this guide, we're exploring Bastet as a jungler, going through her abilities, attack cancelling, combos, builds, counters, what not to do, and general combat tips. With that, let's go through Bastet's abilities. Bastet's passive, Open Wound. When Bastet hits an enemy with any of her first 3 abilities, she wounds the target briefly. If the target has a wound, these abilities deal additional damage and remove the wound instead. So basically, using an ability on a target without a wound will put a wound on them. Attacking them while they have a wound will deal additional damage of 20%. Bastet's first ability, Pounce. Bastet's 1 is a leap ability type. Bastet pounces to a target location. This will damage enemies within radius. For 4 seconds after pouncing, activating the ability again will cause Bastet to pounce back to her original location. Bastet also moves 25% faster while in the return pounce state. This ability is her main escape, engagement, and it also does decent damage. Bastet's second ability, Razor Whip. Bastet's 2 is a cone ability type. Bastet swipes at her enemies, causing them to bleed. This deals damage every second for a duration. This ability is her main damage. Bastet's third ability, Declaw. Bastet's 3 is a projectile ability type. Bastet throws her dagger, which detonates on her target. This deals damage and slows the enemies in the area. This is her main CC and also does very decent damage. Bastet's ultimate, Catcall. Bastet's ultimate is a pet ability type. Bastet summons 3 cats that attack nearby targets for 10 seconds. Her ultimate will slow and damage the target. Her cats will attack enemies who are bleeding first, so any target who has her second ability on them. When the cat is defeated, Bastet will gain bonus physical power for 9 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Her ultimate is great for blocking enemies and ganks early game, but they're pretty easy to counter and kill. Before we get into leveling priorities, I'd like you to note that it's also up to your preference on which abilities you would like to prioritize. Her first, third, and ultimate all do decent damage, and if you find yourself hurting the enemies more with the other, or if you find yourself missing her third ability a lot, you can just re-prioritize. For the first 5 levels, at level 1, her 2, at level 2, her 1, at level 3, her 3, at level 4, her 2, at level 5, her ultimate. For leveling priority, her second ability for increased damage, her ultimate for increased damage, bonus physical power, cat protections, and cat health, her third ability for increased damage, her first ability for increased damage. So basically 2, 4, 3, 1. But like I said, reprioritize to your preference and Bastet playstyle. You can just use my leveling guide if you still don't know what your preferences are. Some people don't value her jump damage, and some people don't value her ultimate at all since it falls off pretty hard. But don't worry, you'll find your catcall. Attack cancelling for Bastet. Attack cancelling allows for some extra damage. Basically, if you watch closely, it will cancel out some of the animation and go right into another basic or ability. This gives you consistent DPS and is not mandatory to learn if you don't want to. That being said, attack cancelling works best for some gods and it just doesn't work on some other gods. I wouldn't recommend attack cancelling on Bastet. it really doesn't work on her. She's more of a jump in, dump all the abilities, maybe basic if you need to, and jump out. Plus, you don't want to stay in longer than you need to, without really any strong CC and much to rely on. It's best to just get in and get out. Combos for Bastet. Before we get into combos, a few pointers. Her first ability can be used to escape or engage. Remember that you can also just leap right back out within 4 seconds. Your third ability works well in combos, but it's also great to finish off or slow enemies who are getting away or last hit. Just because Bastet doesn't AA cancel doesn't mean you can't use her basics. If it's safe enough to do so and the enemy isn't shredding you, feel free to basic attack them in between abilities. But when deciding to do this, you just have to make a choice if you want to jump back out or not. If you're engaged with your leap ability, you only have 4 seconds to decide if you need to jump back to your original location. Remember that your cats will target an enemy who is bleeding first, so target your second ability on enemies you want to focus on. Her second ability puts a bleed on the targets. You can also use Bastet's cats to block enemies or trap enemies. You don't have to use your jump in these combos. If you're close enough, you can just use these combos right off the bat. You can also just use your jump to finish off enemies or enemies who are escaping. For short combos, 1 and 2. For medium combos, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 2. For a full combo, 1, 2, 4, 3. Builds for Bastet. Builds always depend on what kind of enemies you're up against. My builds in this video is just a general guideline. You can adjust accordingly depending on your game and situation. For a damage/jungle build, Assassin's Blessing, Tier 1 of Jotun's Wrath or Brawler's Beatsick if you need anti-heal, Warrior Tabi, finish this item first before your first item, Transcendence, you can build this item earlier if you'd like, Heartseeker, Titan's Bane, Magi's Cloak or Crusher. I would say to always pick up Magi's Cloak unless you're really just fragging and the enemy team isn't focusing you at all. But due to Bastet and her cats being so easy to counter, Magi's Cloak would help a lot with that. Feel free to pick up that item early on her if you need it. Magi Cloak gives you CC and root immunity every 70 seconds, which is vital as she can easily be CC'd when she jumps in. Counters of Bastet. Hard god counters against Bastet is a Willish. CC counters Bastet pretty hard. Most of the time, enemies who know how to counter Bastet will hold their CC for when Bastet jumps in. Bastet's ultimate, her kitties, are really easy to counter. Heavenly Agility counters her cats by outrunning them for a brief period. CC counters her cats. Slows counters her cats except for Horrific Emblem, which is a relic. What not to do as Bastet. Do not jump in if you know the enemy has a way to counter you. Do not stay in longer than you need to. Bastet is pretty easy to kill. General combat tips for Bastet. Bastet can use her cats to body block in the right situations. To do this, it works better on enemies who are running away as they obviously do not want to fight you. As they're running, use your third ability to slow them. When you're right behind them and they're slowed, use your ultimate. Stand behind them and use abilities or basics. This will block them in all 4 directions. The only way they can escape is if they kill you, kill your cats, or have an escape. Bastet's cats are pretty useless late game. Because they die so easily, you can just use them to tank towers or help you escape. You can even use them to save teammates, because the cats can tank damage for you and they can also slow the enemy. I would recommend being right next to the enemy when you're using your cats. That way the enemy can't kill them while they're running towards the target. To clear jungle camps, use your second ability first and then your third ability early game. By doing this, you are activating the passive and you will give your third ability 20% additional damage. Bastet can jump over walls. This makes her ganks much more scary. Use the walls where the mid camps are to gank the middle lane. Remember, Bastet is basically a guard where you jump in, unload all your abilities, and jump out. And that is all for the Bastet guide. If you would like to request a god guide or simply just to support me, you can find a coffee donation link in the description box below. I'm also going to be doing a SMITE skin giveaway, that should be coming out in a few days, maybe tomorrow, I'm not too sure, but it's basically a Happy New Year's giveaway, so yeah. Let me know what guards you would like to main next in the comments. Subscribing and likes would be super rad, clicking the bell also really helps me out. I hope to see you for the next one. Bye!